following presentation provides a visual and oral guide to complete your registration for applicants who have chosen the academic document review route through PLAR. If you have not done so, you should first view the presentation about completing the first two steps for registration: how to log in and add information, and how to identify your route through PLAR. If you have chosen the case study assessment, then you do not need to view this presentation, but instead view the presentation related to the case study route. Having completed step 2 in your registration process, your selection of the academic document review route should bring you to this screen. This step allows you to complete the required information and attach needed documentation to meet the requirements of this route through PLAR. Before we begin to complete the form, let's look at some important considerations. For many applying, there may be a lot of information that you need to compile and submit. It is not necessary to rush through this step in one session. It may take you several sessions before you compile and submit all the required documentation. The information you submit in each session will be saved. You can change or add information before you make your final submission. Payment is not required until the final step, and you are confident that you have submitted all needed information and documents. It is only after payment is made that further changes are not allowed. Keep in mind, the academic document review is an alternate route available if and only if grandparented members are able to provide sufficient notarized documentation and supportable evidence relevant to traditional Chinese medicine education. Your documentation and supporting evidence must be from a formal post-secondary institution. Grandparented members who receive formal post-secondary training but are unable to obtain supporting documentation from a post-secondary educational institution are required to take the case study assessment. To successfully complete the academic review, it is essential that your submitted documentation provide the evidence that shows the successful completion of a TCM program with the required hours and with coursework that can be aligned to the competencies. We will now look at the requirements for official documentation. First, documentation must provide true evidence that you have successfully completed the program and that your program provided you TCM professional training at a post-secondary institution. The most common evidence to show successful completion is an official and true diploma or certificate from the institution. The certificate must clearly show the information such as your name, the name and location of the institution, the date that it was issued to you, an authorized signature from the institution, and an official seal. See the guide for further details. Apart from successful completion, your supporting documentation must include information about the program that you successfully completed. The supporting documentation must be an official academic record that provides information about the scope and nature of your coursework in the program that you have successfully completed. Academic records include and can be called a transcript, detailed marks card, examination report, extract, index, or other names depending on the country from which it was issued. You may submit one or a combination of several of these records so that your supporting documentation provides the required information about your professional TCM training. We will now outline what your academic record must show about your training. You must provide sufficient and supportable evidence to clearly demonstrate through the courses you have taken that you have received the minimum required hours of formal structured TCM and/or TCM acupuncture professional training, both theoretical and clinical. For TCM practitioners, Grandparented members require evidence of 1,000 hours of relevant TCM instruction. For acupuncturists, grandparented members require evidence of 750 hours of relevant TCM instruction. As well, the documentation must provide sufficient and supportable evidence that your coursework is specifically related to the practice of TCM. This will allow you to align your training to the required competencies that are established for TCM practitioners and acupuncturists. Further information about how to show specific alignment to the identified competencies is provided later in this presentation. When submitting your documentation, you must only submit scanned copies of the original documents. Do not submit originals with your application. Original documents may be required for verification at a later date. Your submitted documentation must be notarized. Details about notarization are in the guide. Your documentation must be submitted electronically with your application. We will show you how to submit copies of your documentation later in this presentation. And to re-emphasize, your submitted documentation must provide truthful and convincing evidence that you have successfully completed a professional training program in TCM and show evidence that this program meets or exceeds the hour requirements and the provided coursework aligns to the entry-level competencies for the practice of TCM in Canada. Now let's return to the completion of the application and look at the four main sections of the academic document review in the application form. First, you will identify the formal post-secondary programs you successfully completed that provided your TCM training. Be sure to read the guide to completing PLAR carefully so that you fully understand all requirements. We will highlight what information you need to submit and show you how to enter this information using your computer later in the presentation. Next, you will provide information about some or all of the courses you successfully completed in your program or programs. Be sure that your screen correctly shows your correct title designation, as there are different requirements for TCM practitioners and for acupuncturists. Keep in mind courses must be relevant to training and meet the required hours of training. We will highlight the requirements and show you how to enter this information later in the presentation. Next, you will show how your courses align to the required competencies. We will show you how you obtain a copy of the competencies and how to match the competencies to your TCM courses. Finally, you'll be required to make a declaration that you have not submitted any false or misleading information. Notice that payment is not required until the completion of the next step. You may log into this page many times to add or change information before you submit your payment and finalize the process. Now let's look in detail at each part. First, submitting information about your TCM programs. For each formal post-secondary program, you will need to identify the start and end dates of the program, the name of the program, the name and location of the institution providing the program, and attach a copy of the notarized official document that is evidence of your successful completion. It is very important that the supporting documentation you are submitting must be notarized. Please read the Guide to Completing PLAR for further details. Now let's add the information on the computer about a TCM education program. Click the Add button as shown. When you click Add, a new window will appear on your screen. You enter the start date of your program in the format month, day, year. For example, the date shown on the screen is September 1st, 1998. Note, if preferred, you can click the arrow on the right side of the box to select the date using a pop-up menu. You can use the on-screen calendar to select the year, month, and day, and the value will appear on your form. Next, you will add the end date of the program, again in the format month/day/year. The date shown is May 31st, 2000. Next, you can type in the name of the program used by the institution. Next, enter the name and address of the institution. The box will scroll to allow you to enter the complete name and location. You can separate information using commas. The address must include the city, province or state, and country. Next, you must attach your notarized documentation showing your successful completion of the program. This process is called uploading. If you are uncertain using a computer, you may wish to have a friend or relative assist you with this step. Your document must be on your computer and be one of the indicated file types. You then click Browse. Depending on your computer, a window will open up and you will need to locate this document on your computer. If done correctly, the name of your document will appear in the box. Click Save to continue. When the window closes, you will see your program information listed on the screen, showing the start and finish dates of the program, the official name of the program, the name and location of the institution, and the name of the notarized document that has been uploaded to professionaltesting.ca. You may delete the information if you want to re-enter or change any information about this program. You may click Add if you wish to add additional successfully completed programs to your TCM education record. Shown is an example of 2 programs being identified as part of TCM education. You may include more if needed. Let's return to our original example. Please note that one file can be identified on each line of your TCM education section. However, for each successful program, you will want to include several documents to support your application. For example, you may have a copy of a diploma, a copy of a transcript from the institution, a copy of documents that show that your academic record has been notarized. In other words, you have multiple documents that you want to use to support the information about your successfully completed program. There are 2 ways that you can use to include these multiple documents. You may have scanned your documents and you have separate files showing your diploma, your transcripts, and notarized evidence. In this case, repeat information about your program and attach one file to each line. The example shows that the candidate has attached a copy of a diploma and repeated the information to show other documents related to the same program. a transcript, and supporting notarized documentation. Now let's look at another way to provide multiple documents about a program. Another method is to include all your records in one scanned file. In this example on the screen, the candidate only needs one line on the form because he or she has uploaded one scanned document that contains all the copies of the needed diplomas and academic records. If you are unfamiliar with computers, you are encouraged to seek the assistance of a friend or relative to make sure you correctly submit all the needed documentation to support your application. Now we will look at Part 2 on this page, providing a TCM course summary. If your professional title is Acupuncturists, then you must identify TCM courses with hours that total at least 750 hours of training. If your professional title is TCM Practitioner, your screen will look like this, and you must identify TCM courses with hours that total at least 1,000 hours of training. For TCM practitioners, it is important that your courses that you list include details relevant to both acupuncture and to the use of herbs. We will now work through an example to show you how to add course information. Click the Add button on the screen. When you do, a new information window will appear for you to enter information. You can type in the name of the course, use the information from your educational institution if available, type in the number of hours assigned to that course by your institution. You may also use the arrows on the side to enter the number, and type in a brief description of the course that highlights the TCM content and skills that it taught. Again, you may use information directly from your institution to help you here. Click Update when you're finished, or click Cancel to start again. When you return to the screen, your course information will be updated. The screen shows information about 3 courses. Please note, the total hours of courses you have entered is shown at the bottom. To complete this section, acupuncturists must have a minimum of 750 hours, and TCM practitioners a minimum of 1,000 hours. The courses you show can exceed these numbers, but keep in mind that the courses you list must be able to demonstrate coverage of the required competencies that we will highlight soon. So choose carefully the courses you wish to list, and look carefully at the descriptions given to each course. You may correct or change the information about a course by pressing Edit. You may delete a course, or you may continue to add courses to meet the hour requirements and to show coverage of the needed competencies. We will now look at the next section of the application. Part 3 is matching the courses you have listed to show coverage of the required competencies. To get a copy of the entry-level Occupational Competencies for the Practice of TCM in Canada, October 2009, click the green button. You will be able to print a copy or save an electronic copy of the document to your computer. Be familiar with this document before you continue with the next step. We will now look at how to complete this section of the page. First, make sure that your professional title is shown on the page. The requirements for TCM practitioners and for acupuncturists are different. For acupuncturists, you must look at 3 areas of the competencies for this task: TCM foundations, diagnostics and treatment, and acupuncture techniques. For TCM practitioners, you must look at 4 areas of the competencies for this task: TCM foundations, diagnostics and treatment, acupuncture techniques, and herbal dispensary management. Note, if you are not able to show evidence that the programs and courses you have taken address the identified competencies, then you should not continue with the academic document review. You should choose the primary route through PLAR, the case study assessment. Note the descriptions provided on the page for each competency area give only a brief summary. Read the entry-level occupational competencies for the practice of TCM in Canada for a complete description. Let's now look at an example to complete this section. First, if you have finished entering your courses in the previous step, you will notice on your screen that the names of your courses now appear in the sections shown. The names in the list will match the names that you provided in Part 2. Use the scroll bars on the right to see all the names of courses you have provided. For each competency area, you must identify courses you have taken that clearly address the competency. You must indicate a minimum of 2 courses and up to a maximum of 5 courses for each. The descriptions you have provided for these courses should provide evidence of that coverage. To select a course that developed the competency, just click the box beside the name and a check mark will appear, as shown on this example. Again, you can use the scroll bars to select other courses for each competency. You will receive a warning if you select fewer than 2 courses or more than 5 courses for any competency area. Remember, the information you provide about each course must clearly show that the course is allowed for the development of the stated competency. Also, for TCM practitioners, your information should provide clear evidence of competencies related to both acupuncture and herbal. Now for the final part of the academic document review. Read the 3 paragraphs carefully. If you agree, then click the box. If you do not agree, then you may choose the case study assessment as your route through the PLAR. Finally, click the green box and you will go to the payment screen. Payment is not required until the end of the next step, so you may continue to change or add to your documentation in this section. This page asks for your payment information and allows you to finalize and submit your information for the academic document review. Please check that your professional title shown on the page is correct. We will now look at how to enter the information for payment. This screen shows the information that will be required to make payment. Payment can be made using Visa or MasterCard. Select the circle indicating the card you are using. Next, enter your credit card number. Do not include the spaces. Enter the 2-digit month of expiry shown on your credit card. You may click the right side of the box to choose the correct 2 digits. Enter the 2-digit year of expiry shown on your card. You may click on the right side of the box to choose the correct 2 digits. Enter your credit card's 3-digit security code. These 3 digits are shown on the back of your credit card. Enter the complete name of the card holder that is shown on the card. Spell the complete name exactly as shown on the card. Enter the street address of the card holder, exactly as provided to the credit card company. Enter the city of the card holder, exactly as provided to the credit card company. Choose the correct two-letter code of the province associated with the card holder. If the card holder is using a card from the United States, enter the two-letter code of the state. Also select the country associated with the card holder, either Canada or the United States, as provided to the credit card company. Lastly, enter the credit card holder's postal code as provided to the credit card company. Lastly, this is the final step. Please make sure that you have compiled all the necessary information and documents before you click the green box. Once you click the green box, payment will be processed from your credit card, and the supporting information and documents will be deemed as final. No further changes will be accepted. Please note that you will receive confirmation of your payment. The confirmation will be sent to you by email, the same email address that you provided to the college and appeared in your contact information. This completes our guide to registering for PLAR through the Academic Document Review. We hope you have found it useful. You may replay all or part of the presentation. Thank you for watching.